Why, hello there. My name is Mountain, and today I'd like to talk to you about this. And what is this, you might ask? Well, this, my friends, is the Aer Simple Pouch 0.6 liters. Now, as the name suggests, this is a general use simple pouch or sling. It's got the strap, as you can see, recently released by Aer, the San Francisco-based manufacturer of a dizzying array of bags, slings, pouches, luggage, and other accessories, so many of which I have reviewed on this channel. Now, this belongs to the relatively new Simple subline of Aer's products, which I find fascinating because they use this really interesting kind of like high-tech fabric and materials, yet they're very simple in construction. And it's kind of like executing these simple designs in familiar carry spaces with crazy high-end materials. And it's so different than the rest of what Aer has been doing. Now, its strengths include that along with the rest of the Simple series, it's got this high-tech Ultra 400X fabric, really just to be cool more than anything. There's nothing like particularly functional about it in this use case. There's nothing wrong with that, complemented by some other really nice material choices like these YKK water-resistant zippers and Hypalon touches and all that stuff here. It's also a very simple, very easy to use pouch. I'm going to show you all of this here in a second, but you can see two main compartments with a little bit of subtle stretch in here that makes it really easy to use, and a drop-in pocket. That's all there is to this thing. That's perfect for carrying your phone, your wallet, keys, and maybe one or two other little essentials in a very fast and convenient manner. And that simple design also means that it's pretty flexible in terms of what you can get in the pockets and kind of how you can use it within limits. It's a 0.6 liter sling after all. It's very compact and lightweight. When it's empty, it weighs less than 100 grams. You can just drop it. It's really flat. So you can just drop it into a larger bag or a backpack. Now, there are some things to consider. I don't usually talk about price on this channel, but similar to the Simple Kit, which also belongs to this line, and I reviewed a little while ago, you're really paying a premium here for these kind of exotic materials, and which use mainly for the aesthetic value as opposed to like any kind of market utility. So that does, like maybe present a dilemma or maybe a challenge for some people who are kind of heavily focused on utility or bang for the buck, as it were. For those of you that like a premium, design look, I think that this is going to be, probably justifiable. And while I list its general use nature as a pro, I also think it's something to consider. There's very little that this sling can do that like a simple flat sacoche or pouch can't do just about as well. And it's not a negative, but I do think that it's fairly flat and simple and small, hence that 0.6 liter rating. So you'll be limited by what you could fit inside of here. That's just sort of the nature of the product that they're designing here. But you'll also need to be careful because there's no internal padding in here. It's just a big, empty space in there. And very little organization, just basically these two pouches and then this back area. There's no internal additional organization in there. So you have to be careful not to let like your keys scratch your phone or like drop it too hard because it might break and all that stuff there. So quick overview of this bag: one size, 0.6 liters, two colorways, white and black, or technically Black Magic is the name of this when it comes to ultra fabric. One material weight, Challenger Sailcloth 400 TX ultra fabric. It retails for $69 over on aersf.com or your local country retailer. And unsurprisingly, this is the 0.6 liter version in black in Ultra 400X. Now, I have been using this, I don't know, for a few months at this point, 3 or 4 months at least, as kind of like my, casual use sling, which I actually in the beginning, wasn't thinking I was going to use it that often. And actually it's really grown on me. This was purchased with my own money. All opinions are my own. Aer doesn't even know I'm making this video. So let's talk about the different components of this bag, starting with the front pocket. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here so you can see. So the front pocket on this runs about 4/5 of the width of the front of the bag. It's got a little bit of pleating at the bottom. This expands out here to accommodate things of slight bulk here. Now this is used, or well, the way that I've chosen to use it is for like my keys and small items I want to kind of keep handy and kind of separated from the main compartment where I've got like my phone and my wallet and all those bigger things in there. Access to here is via these YKK water resistant zips. They're used pretty much for, I would say, fashion, as is usually Aer's style here, but there is actually a pretty good degree of water resistance because this is a fairly flat thing. I'll talk about that in a second here. You've got these nice Hypalon pulls. I really like these zipper pulls here. And so like, again, this is just really for the love of the game, for the looks of it. It's just kind of why they're using this on here. Opening it is usually a two-handed affair because this is a very light sling. So I find like I need to kind of take this with one hand, stabilize it, and pull it open. Same thing for this main pouch as well. That's okay though. So open this up here via this one zipper here, and then you can see that you've got all the stuff on the inside in this big kind of like dump pouchy area here. Now, let's start with taking out what I have in here, and I'll talk about that, and then I'll talk about what I have inside this main compartment. Let's zoom out just a little bit so you can see here. So I got my keys here taped up so you can't lockpicking lawyer me, some hand sanitizer. I've got a Lamy Piccolo pen there, or Pico pen, or whatever it's called. I've got some chapstick. I've got comb, and then I've got also inside of here a little mag light solitaire flashlight there. And that's really all I have inside of here. You can see it's quite empty and a little bit hard to see inside. There's nothing in terms of internal organization or something beyond there. You also get that kind of unlined, kind of plasticky, laminate backing of the ultra fabric on there. I don't mind it, but it is, I noticed, a little bit hard to see inside of there. When you have a bunch of stuff in there because there's no additional organization, what happens is you kind of throw everything in there, and then maybe you got your keys in there, and then you want to get something from the bottom. Like, you have to kind of open this up, and it's hard to kind of see, and you kind of rummaging around. Usually I pull my keys out, and then I can kind of like pull this open, and I bring up a whole handful of stuff, and now, okay, that's what I'm looking for. Anyway, it's a pretty small sling, so it's not the end of the world, but it's something I wanted to mention. There is no key leash inside of here, as you could see. But again, I think for a sling of this size and kind of like the limited loadout you'll be carrying, and the fact that it is sort of, right there at your side when you're wearing it, obviously, like, it's not too bad. Much like the Simple Kit, which belongs to the same series and I recently reviewed, this main compartment and this front sub compartment are separated by an elastic mesh, a kind of stretchy elastic mesh area, which lets some of the volume flex between these two areas. And I really like, especially when you couple that and the kind of pleat, little subtle pleat at the bottom of this front pocket, it actually lets you get in some things of moderate bulk, surprisingly, I would say, for a sling that's this flat and this light. And I thought that was a really nice touch. That and just the fact that you have this additional front mounted pocket greatly enhances, comparatively speaking, relative like a flat sacoche, the utility that you can get out of this sling, because you can just put your small things here and it still leaves your big main pocket for, your flat things, which I'll talk about in a second. Now, let's talk about the main pocket. Main pocket obviously runs the width of the bag. Same access as the front pocket, and then opening it up, you can see you've got the same thing going on here. You got that elastic kind of divider between the front and the main compartment I talked about earlier. You've got that same kind of uncoated, unpadded, back wall or back fabric in there. I find that this main pocket is best for like your bigger things. There's no organization in here either. Let me pull this out and I'll talk about what I have in there. There's no organization inside of here. It's just a big, flat, black kind of like, hole in there. It is a little bit hard to see, even though this one opens up wider than this one. Like, I just find it sometimes a little bit hard to see in there, especially, and then maybe this is self-inflicted. You can see I have a lot of like black stuff, like black EDC goods. So like, comparatively speaking, black on black, and black isn't great. Obviously in the white colorway, you're not going to have that problem as much, or unless you have a bunch of like all white colored EDC gear. So in terms of what I have inside of here, I have my Evergoods Elements bifold wallet. I have a Field Notes here. I've got a Rofmia coin pouch. I've got an iPhone 17 Pro Max, and then I've got some AirPod Pros or whatever there. This main pocket has no actual like independent dimension. Well, it has a little bit, I guess, kind of due to the patterning, just about a very, very small amount. But there's no like gusseting or anything like that. There's no expansion or stretch in there. So really kind of, it depends on like the breadth of the material to kind of like accommodate, and then like accommodate things, and also that little stretchy flex elastic divider between the front compartment and this one that I mentioned earlier. Now, you need to be careful by what you put inside here because there is no organization. So for example, if you were to take your phone and you were to put it glass side facing forward, you've got your keys in here. If you were to kind of push really hard on here, like your keys could, even through that kind of elastic mesh, kind of like scratch your phone. Certainly if you put your keys in the same area, it could. Even if dropping like your AirPods or something like that, I could see that possibly scratching it. I mean, hopefully the glass on the phone is strong enough to resist that, but you never know. So what I like to do is I like to like kind of put like a notebook and my wallet kind of between my phone screen, or place the phone screen facing backwards, and then like any kind of other things I have inside here to give it a little bit of kind of like additional protection, even so you don't want to like drop it on the table because there's no real padding on here. Now for me, that's completely fine because I do think that, that's inherent to the simple nature of this bag, and it's kind of what makes it so much easier and faster, or easy and fast to use. So I think it's actually pretty much okay. The other thing is you can actually put your phone over here. Now you can notice that, like, with these kind of things that I've shown you, like, you've got like a little bit of, like, it kind of puffs out a little bit, but it's actually still really slim, really flat. And while there is a bit of, like, slight cognitive overhead to kind of fish around and try and find what you're looking for, it's not bad. It's a small 0.6 liter sling. You could put more stuff in there if you wanted to. So sometimes I carry two phones, like a work phone and my regular phone, and then like maybe some eye drops or something like that. And then, you could obviously toss that in there. You could fit a battery bank here, though I think that's starting to push what you can get in there. If I were to carry two phones, what I will then do is I'll turn it over and I'll use this back slip compartment. The back compartment is exactly, as I said, it's just a back slip compartment. It's about, I would say 5/6. I'm really like going with different fractions here. So it's not 4/5, it's like 5/6 of the width of the back, but it's a little bit asymmetrical. As you can see, it's kind of over here and then it stops right there. This is intended to drop in a phone or something like that. This is an iPhone 15, iPhone 15 regular or whatever. You can fit the 17 Pro Max in there. So what I'll do if I'm carrying two phones, I'll drop one in here and then I'll drop the other one inside of here in this kind of main compartment. I don't usually carry the phone in here when I don't have other stuff inside of this main compartment, just because I find sometimes it will slip out. Like if I were to like kind of put this sideways, sometimes it would slip out on me. But anyway, just wanted to mention, you can carry other things like if you're wearing a mask or like, little flat field notes or some papers, business or other, folded up will fit inside receipts or whatever. Those all fit in there. So again, I kind of thought that was a nice little additional utility touch there. And you can see now in this one, I've got those extra eye drops and two phones, and it's still like a pretty svelte, kind of package overall. So next, let's talk about load carriage on this bag. I've zoomed out a little bit so you can kind of see it. So load carriage is pretty simple. It consists of these two little loops on the side of the bag here. They're pretty robust. I think they're very similar to what you see like on the Peak Design bags. So I assume there's some sort of reinforcement in the middle, a little bit fairly stiff in there. Doesn't feel like they're going to rip out. And then attached to them through these simple kind of like hitch knots is this included strap. The strap itself is about 124 centimeters from each end to each end when attached. And it's just over like 1 centimeter in width here. It does have a center kind of like adjustment here through these kind of sliders, which I'll show you. You can see there's this little sliding buckle. First of all, there's this clip which comes apart like this. I never use this. This is such a like simple bag. It just sort of like seems strange to like unbuckle and buckle. It just can be tossed right over your shoulder. And then inside of that, they've got these two little like O-rings made of plastic that you can then kind of pull to shorten or tighten the bag. I found it kind of loses its place really easily. As you can see, like if you got this here, if you just release the tension, like if you hold the line in tension, it'll hold, but it's really easy for it to slip. So for me, this bag was always just kind of laying around at maximum extension just because I just couldn't get it to shorten up and stay shortened because of just how easy it was to slip as soon as you like release any tension on that. Having been said, at 124 centimeters, I found this was pretty comfortable at maximum extension, at least for me. Usually hung comfortably around my hip. You can throw it around on your back on there, but really is sort of intended to be worn, kind of around the hip or the side or something like that. For most people, like this is going to be very sufficient. If you were really put this like super heavily loaded, you might find, because it's only like 1 centimeter in width, this might be a little bit light. Those of you that are like the big swole gym homies or the lumberjack homies or whatever, you might find that this whole kit in general is maybe a little bit small on you, and particularly this strap might not be long enough to go around your massive lumberjack like muscles or whatever. But for most of us mere mortals, I think this is going to be fine. If you don't like it, you can just remove it and clip on whatever else you want. These are really kind of convenient, like carabiners, any kind of clip or whatever, gate clips, D-ring clips or whatever are going to fit really nicely. So next, let's talk about the design and materials on this bag. I already mentioned briefly, this is Ultra 400X exterior by Challenger Sailcloth. That's the ultra high molecular weight polyethylene fabric, one of those, the new breed of high-tech, water resistant, ultra light, ultra durable materials. For the most part, depends on durability, has many different meanings. Coupled with YKK water resistant zippers, Hypalon accents, and then I assume this is Woojin or Duraflex hardware. I'm not sure, but it doesn't really matter for a bag of this size. This isn't going to break on you for the most part, unless you're doing something crazy with this bag. The design, as I kind of mentioned, like the materials are used here primarily for the looks. Like you do get some incidental water resistance. I would say actually this is a fairly water resistant bag, even though the seams aren't taped, because the Ultra fabric is water resistant. These zippers are water resistant, and though the seams are not taped, you don't actually have exposed seams up at the top here, sort of folded over. And it's a fairly thin bag, so like I think when water falls on it, it's not going to really soak in there. And the other kind of maybe benefit of this material here is like in this use case is it's quite lightweight. In terms of design, this is clearly a sacoche. That's a French term for a type of bag, most commonly like a small flat envelope-like crossbody bag or satchel, which is used for essentials. That's clearly what this is. It's really flat overall, though it does have some subtle expansion, like I mentioned here, like on the side in this front pocket and whatnot. And then kind of maybe the first thing you notice besides the sacoche-like nature is that this kind of like ultra fabric and then like a high-tech materials or whatever when you get up close, like it's really distinctive. And the second thing you're going to notice is the X grid from the reinforcement layer. It's a laminate fabric, so you're going to notice these X grid. It's really prominent here. Some people like that. Some people don't like this, and they think Ultra looks like a trash bag. I definitely see where they're coming from. I don't particularly mind it, but I definitely see where people are coming from on this. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I think this is not a beautiful bag per se, but I think it's low-key distinctive. Like from a distance, it looks like just a black regular sacoche. You get up close, you're like, oh yeah, there's some kind of interesting stuff going on there. Dimensions on this bag, 23 by 18 by 2 centimeters. So 23, 18, and then 2. Those of you in imperial units, that's 9.25 by 7.25 by 0.75 inches, 0.6 liters, and 90 grams, which is super lightweight. One of the advantages of that ultra fabric there. Last thing to talk about is who this is for and who it's not for. Look, if you are looking for a simple and easy to use sling for minimum daily essentials, I showed you phone, wallet, keys, maybe a chapstick or something like that, maybe some earbuds or something like that, this is a great choice for that. If you're looking for something packable that's easy to use, you could throw in a larger bag, like your big Pro EDC bag, but you just want to bring your phone, your wallet, and your keys when you duck out for lunch without bringing your big backpack. You don't want stuff bulging out of your suit or your pockets or whatever. This is a great choice for that. If you're traveling, you just want something you can use at a destination. This is something you could throw in almost anywhere. 90 grams is inconsequential and it folds flat and fit in almost anything here. It's not a great choice for those of you bringing the kitchen sink. Obviously, it's a small, slender, slim pouch. It won't fit your water bottle, your cameras, or any of that stuff. It's not going to fit your tablets or whatnot. The big swole gym homies, the lumberjack homies, this is probably going to be a little bit too small for you. The strap may not fit you. I think those of you with lots of small stuff that need like an admin place for pocket for each of your little things, this probably isn't the best choice, but it is a simple pouch. So if you're in the market for a sacoche or a sling like this, what are some other sacoches or slings you might want to consider? Here's a brand I haven't talked about for a while. This is the Black Ember Sacoche 01. It's about 0.4 liters. They don't actually give official measurements, but you can see it's roughly the same size. So I would say this holds less than this one. So 0.4 sounds about right. And retails for about $55 US, I think. It's a simpler bag. Just a simple magnetic drop-in pouch on the front and then a single kind of opening in the back there, though it does have a divider in there. And there is a little bit of pleating at the bottom here on the main pocket there. I say it's a little bit simpler in terms of organization just because like I find like this one with first two pockets that close provides a little bit more usable utility, I think, than this one that just has a single pocket that closes than one that's more or less kind of open. That having been said, maybe it's just a matter of how you like your stuff distributed. They've also used, like Black Ember is also quite, famous for using high-tech materials. There's a couple of different material ways. This one, I think, is just a type of nylon in there, but they do use Hypalon liberally. You got some nice aluminum clips for the strap there. You've got some aluminum clips for how like the strap closes and it's adjustable and all that. Overall, I found this one was just a little bit tighter than I preferred, so I don't actually use it that much. But for those of you that like this, but maybe you want a different look while it's still kind of looking high-tech, and maybe you have like a smaller loadout, this is going to be a great choice for you. Here's what is one of my previously favorite sacoches, and maybe still is a really favorite sacoche. This is the Belroy Light Sacoche. It says it's 3.5 liters and $59 US or so. It comes in a bunch of different colorways. The materials are not as high-tech, but I would say it has a lot more like usable or has more usable organization. So you've got two big pouches or two big compartments, one on the front and then one on the back. Both of them are zippered, have zippers, water resistant on there. Opening this first pocket up, you see a lot of internal organization. So two big drop-in pockets and a key leash, which this one does not have. And then in the back here, you've got also a couple of stretch elastic mesh pockets, plus the big compartment there. So a lot more subdivision inside here, a lot more organization. This one also tends to have some pretty great gusseting. Like if you were to look at the bottom of the bag like this, you can see it accommodates a lot of stuff. I used to use this as like my plane sling. Like, you know, I keep my passport, my battery bank, all my stuff in there, my phones and all that when I'm kind of got my bag in the overhead compartment or whatever. This is just what I have in the seat with me. It's got all my essentials, stuff like that. Same kind of similar kind of attachment, kind of a similar kind of like slim strap, which adjusts from like one area here. This one obviously holds its length a lot better than this one. I feel like I have less confidence in the kind of attachment point of this one versus this one. This one feels like it'll never break. This one I was always a little bit worried about. I have a couple versions of this one. You can see like there's already some fraying on this one, and some of the others I have, there's even more fraying. Those of you that are looking for this, for something like this, but just want a little bit more organization, maybe you don't like the look of this, you want a different color or whatever, Belroy Light Sacoche is a great option to check out. And finally, this is the modern Dayfare 2-liter Dayfare sling. There's a couple of different sizes of this one. I recently reviewed this, like I said, so I'm going to just go ahead and link that in the description below. It's a broader, flatter sling here. Let me pull out a little bit so you can see. Like you see, it's a broader, flatter kind of like sling. It's not quite a sacoche, it's really a sling. But you got a like really nice, easy access magnetic opening. You got some sub pockets inside of here and a zipper pocket inside of here, but no exterior access on this one here. Much more substantial strap, and just a kind of a different take on sort of like approaching the same kind of maybe problem space in a slightly different form factor. This one's a little bit better padded than this one, so if you got some delicate stuff you're worried about, like your stuff breaking or something like that, this one might be a better choice for you. And so really that's about it. If you have any questions about this bag, go ahead and leave them in the comments below, and if I can, I will answer them. And if you have any bags or other things you'd like me to review, go ahead and leave those in the comments below. If I can, I will review them. Thank you very much. I've got some chapstick because, you know, got to keep them lips moist. That was a weird thing to say. Maybe I'll cut that out of the video.